it's the entrance of positive things that happen as a result of developing these leaders. Yes, there's less problems, but really all of a sudden engagement's higher, productivity's higher, and the flywheel spins faster and faster, to Jim Collins' term, and suddenly you're doing so much better. So I think if we can change the viewpoint of why we're doing this, that's an acceleration issue.
Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week I bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week I'm excited to connect with Brady Young. Brady is a visionary leader, entrepreneur, and catalyst for personal and organizational transformation. With an unwavering commitment to unlocking human potential, Brady has dedicated his career to empowering individuals and businesses to see alternative pathways for action that they have never seen before. Brady's journey into coaching and consulting was shaped by his diverse experiences across various industries. His breadth of experience has endowed him with a keen understanding of the complexities inherent in organizational dynamics, as well as the ability to devise innovative solutions that drive meaningful results. When individuals thrive, organizations thrive. When Brady isn't busy adopting or advising organizations, developing leaders, coaching executives, watching his black belt son compete, watching his other son score goals on the soccer pitch, woodworking, husbanding, watching baseball, paddleboarding, or hiking, he's sleeping. Congrats on unlocking human potential, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Great to have you. So I really like that line in your bio about when people thrive, organizations thrive. So why is that so true?
Why is that so true? Well, I love your intro to the podcast. It's an H to H. I love that. Everything's B2C, B2B, whatever, but it's H to H. And so if it's an H to H world, it just makes sense that organizations are going to do a whole lot better if they're people focused. It is not a zero-sum game, Karl. It's not a zero-sum game. The company wins or the people win. It's not like that. It's if the people are winning, then the organization is going to win. If they're being their best selves, then the organization's going to get the most because they're going to be the most invested. So I think it's simple. It sounds easy, and it just doesn't always play out that way in organizations. But when it does, there's a myriad of statistics showing that people-centered organizations just do a whole lot better.
So and I agree, it's one of the things I talk about a lot is that if all the people didn't show up to a business, you don't have a business anymore because it's made up of the people. You have a product and tech stack and fanciest offices and all this other stuff. But if the employees don't show up, or
right,
the customers don't show up, you don't have a business.
That's right.
So why do you think so many companies and so many quote unquote leaders out there seem to have forgotten that this is how it works?
Oh, I don't think anyone's forgotten at all. I don't think anybody's forgotten. I just don't think they put enough time into knowing how to activate those people. I think they think they're doing it. I think most leaders are trying to do the best they can. I really do. I think most of them are trying to do the best they can. They're just maybe not very effective at it. And it's just a skills thing and an awareness thing. So I don't think it's malice at all.
So it's just their skill set isn't properly attuned to lead the way that their employees need them to lead or the business needs them to lead.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds like that's the sort of thing that Thrive, the company you're working with, is helping people with. Is that correct?
That's exactly what we do here. We're trying to activate the humans that make your business better. So that can come in a lot of ways. Not to make this a commercial for myself, but it can be a number of ways. One could be coaching the executives, right? I mean, if the fish smells from the head, we want to make sure the head doesn't smell and then it leads down. Executives get a lot of attention. A lot of times you've got your staff that are touching customers, and it's the people right above them that were great individual contributors, and everyone knows that. I mean, this is not a shock. Every industry has this problem that they got elevated because they were good. Well, but they're still touching the people who are touching the customers. They're the closest to the customer, and yet they're probably the most ineffective managers. So again, it's not a problem of desire. It's not a problem of malice. It's a problem of they just don't have the skills, and no one invests in this level. And so Thrive, again, we help with this leadership. We help develop these leaders, and then we also do HR consulting to help just more processes and practices for people, not just leadership development, but like how they go about doing things or the structure in place to effectively engage and maximally use the people that work for them.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think it's that phenomenon of people getting promoted until they're at a job they're no longer good at.
Peter principle. Right?
Like, that's been going for so long. Like, why are companies still operating that way? And what are some of like alternatives do you think that they could do instead? Or like, well, why don't they invest more in those, the people that they're moving to leadership roles? Because again, it seems like the same rake that businesses, and it's not like a single industry as this year or a single like region. It's like it's overall systemically, companies keep stepping on the same rake, and they see other people doing it, and no one seems to not be able to walk into that rake. And it baffles me how that can still be such a prevalent problem when it's like everyone knows that's what's going on, and yet no one's done anything, or at least most companies don't do anything.
Well, yeah, it takes a lot of time. So first off, there's a couple things we can look at. One is, are we promoting the right people? Well, of course, you always tend to promote your best individual performers. And that makes sense, right? They're really good. They know customers, or they know their function really well. Of course, you're going to want them to be the beacon of light, the example for which other people follow. That makes sense. There could be someone maybe not quite as technically sound as that person, but just a much better leader that you can promote. So we could look at who we promote, right? That could be one thing. And that wouldn't take a lot of extra work. The thing that does take a lot of extra work and a lot of money, or so leaders think, is developing these humans, because there's a lot of them. Again, the executives are 5 or 6. Well, this level, there's 10s, 20s, thousands, depending on your organization. And it's just, I think the proposition of the time investment and the money investment probably scares them away. So you got to solve for one or the other, or we're going to keep running into the rake, which I love that, by the way.
Because it seems like it's one of those things where, like, it's like with the reason why people often don't invest in like cybersecurity, because it seems, oh, it's so expensive at the time, but it's not nearly as expensive what you end up paying when you have a breach, and you're like, it's 100 times more expensive. It seems like at this point, companies think, oh, it seems like a lot of expense to invest in training these top performers and the leaders. But then if your organization is struggling, eventually you're going to waste more time and money and lose out on more than you would have if you just invested in those people earlier. And it's been so, I mean, again, it's been going on for so long that it's not like it's, and there's, yeah, just, it's that sort of mindset is, I get it from like a human behavior standpoint, how it's like, there's the resistance to change and all these other risks. And it's just like but it seems like from, what is the way you, like, sort of training that you help people with, or how do you get people to address these? So I'm sure you work with clients that have this issue and you help them with, so what are some like the solutions? So if companies are finally realizing, okay, we want to be the ones that step over the rake or around the rake this time and not be the ones getting our turn with it being blatted in our faces, what do you recommend they do to solve this issue? What are sort of like, how do you get that training at scale for those sort of people?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I want to back up a little bit on the rationale. Of course, to engage someone like me, on an HR consulting capacity or a leadership development capacity, usually there's pain involved, right? They felt pain already. Let's go with that leadership thing for a minute. These managers are just causing more, they're not causing trouble, they're just not solving their own problems, for instance. And those problems bubble up to the top, and then those people have to deal with it. That's a lot of the motivation to have someone like me come in and develop those leaders. What they end up finding out, though, is that sure, it's an insurance policy, so there's no more problems, but at the end of the day, it's an acceleration issue. It's not averting risk, it's we're gonna make the business better. If you know what I mean, like we're gonna actually get more done. It's not the absence of bad things, it's the entrance of positive things that happen as a result of developing these leaders. Yes, there's less problems, but really all of a sudden engagement's higher, productivity's higher, and the flywheel spins faster and faster. It's a Jim Collins term, and suddenly you're doing so much better. So I think if we can change the viewpoint of why we're doing this, that's an acceleration issue, not so much a risk aversion issue, then we're going to be in a better place. How do we put it to scale? It depends on your organization, right? If you're a small organization or a medium-sized organization like one right now, I have a cohort at 8 kind of early leadership. These are people that they really see are moving up. But, a lot of them have issues because they haven't learned how to deal with their folks. And so, of course, that pain's bubbling up. What they are finding already, and it's early in our cohort, is that things are just wildly getting better. So going back to your question, Karl, sorry, I had to digress on the reason that what I think is a good reason to come here versus risk avoidance. You can do a lot of things. I think, workshops are one thing. Send them off to training for a day, fine. I don't think that's gonna stick. I think they're gonna get about 5% of the total value out of that time. I recommend smaller chunks over a longer period of time. So one, you can swallow it, digest it, hold them accountable for how they put it into play in their everyday life, come back, talk about it, get them working with their groups. If you leverage each other, you don't need someone like me to hold them accountable. Other organizations like, no, I want you in their business. And so this becomes more expensive, less scalable, but like get them in there, maybe coach 3 of them at a time or 1 at a time. The exponential value and growth of that person is off the chart. So you could do it that way, which I think is the best. You could get them into cohorts and they can hold each other accountable. And then you do it slowly or little by little over a longer period of time, and they're going to grow so much more.
Yeah, it makes sense that small, digestible, habit-forming approaches are better than go to a workshop one day and then supposedly expect people to be fixed.
Yes.
Because especially if you have a whole team or like organization full of these coaches that need help with it, then there's going to be more time and effort needed to build those habits and change the behavior. And having the accountability partners in the organization also helps it be more sustainable. It also changes the culture, because it's no longer just there's an outside consultant telling us to do it. It's us as a group, the way the businesses run, the way we identify ourselves as a team, as a company, as a team that leads in this way.
Yep.
And so that not only helps it stick for the people that go to it, but if they bring in someone else or someone else gets promoted, they're already entering a self-sustaining culture of how the managers or leaders at that level work. And so that makes a lot more sense for how to solve this leadership breakdown issue that happens on such a wide rung of the hierarchy compared to like the C-suite, like you said before.
And there's 2 additional benefits kind of springboarding off what you just said, is that group becomes tight. So if they're cross-functional and they work with each other, sometimes, but not all the time, will you get them together? Suddenly they're solving it, so they get tighter. And so the organization by default just gets tighter because they're getting tighter. And also they're solving each other's problems. So most recently I was at a workshop and I got to tell you, it was 3 hours. And I think I talked 45 minutes of the 3 hours. Their discussion with each other, and obviously some of our activities and things like that, I saw them pulling each other aside, going into their calendars, scheduling time with each other to further discuss the topic to solve each other's issues, right? That's the magic. All I do is facilitate. I mean, I've been there. I have a lot of experience. Sure, I've got things to add, but at the end of the day, it's your business. You know the intricacies of your business. You're going to know how to solve it as long as I give you a framework and you guys go. It's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful.
And that result or that seeing that change has got to be great for not only you and your clients, but also the manager, like the leadership, the executives, because they know that when you're done and you're no longer facilitating those meetings, then they know that their team is going to be taking care of themselves and continuing on the work. And it's not just oh, well, we're just doing this because the consultant's making us and our bosses will get mad if we don't do it. It really helping people own the change and own the results of what they've been learning and building with you, which is definitely not easy to achieve, but the fact that you're able to pull that off is really impressive, because there's just so many businesses that sort of like unsiloed support between managers across different departments or like across teams is unfortunately really rare. And I think I can see how when you're having that kind of co-coaching between different managers and the sharing of ideas and solutions, you're getting probably a lot more innovative and impactful results, because people with different expertises and backgrounds and skill sets are all contributing towards the same projects or the same problems and the organizational level, compared to just, okay, this is the marketing problems, only marketing's going to deal with it, and we're not going to have anyone else give input, or I'm going to, like, so that sort of that effect, I think, is something that a lot of businesses lack, and it is definitely slows down their ability to grow and scale.
Yeah. Getting these people to realize that they have common opportunities, common problems. Oh, wait a minute. That happened to you? Well, that happened. No kidding, right? I mean, great. Let's solve it together. No matter what the bosses are doing, we're going to figure this out functionally on the ground, right? And yeah, it just gets tight for sure. So it's lovely to see. It's not groundbreaking. I didn't invent this. This is not like, oh, Sam Altman came up with this open AI technology that blew everyone away. No one's ever heard of it. I'm just copying what other people have done and piece together what I have found over my many, many years of doing this. That really worked over here. That really worked over here. And I pull it together into a formula that I think is really valuable and has over and over shown success. And we're able to measure it too. That's the other thing. We can't get into it today. It's too complex. But there's a way I have figured out how to measure, like, how effective was it? How effective was this 5-month cohort or whatever, however long it is, so that there's real ROI, real like in figures, like, not just like something I see with my eyes, but like I can actually measure it on paper. So it's been great. I'm really having a good time with it.
So that definitely sounds like the cure to what a lot of businesses are struggling with these days. And even like it reminds me of I've seen articles about how a lot of like Gen Z employees are turning down promotions because they don't want to be in that like manager role where they're suddenly having to deal with all this stuff, because they don't see the support from other people, like there's not this. So I think when they're, as companies are realizing that they need like Gen Z is going to be like 25% of the workforce. What you just described is probably the best way to build a company and like an employee culture that is the most inviting and appealing for them, because it has that sense of that support and connection and camaraderie and that most companies are lacking. So
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Brady. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a like it, leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Brady, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.